Any good stories from the road?
Pipe up.
I wish we'd gotten to see a little bit more out of our punter.
I'm starting to puke.
It makes my stomach hurt.
I thought he was going to die.
I'm starting to throw up in my mouth a little bit.
He's on the probiotics.
Is Georgia playing the 1985 Bears this weekend or what?
A lot of Todd talk.
Rat poison proof.
They're mongoose.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction.
Hey, welcome into the Georgia show. We got people asking if anything big has happened since the last episode. And I mean, it's kind of like every episode we do. There's been like 3 to 8 commitments. I've lost track since the last time we met. I'm Wes Blankenship, Jake Rowe, Jake Roos, Mountain Jake himself in for the show tonight. Let's just start with the most recent commitment and work our way back. I think that works. Yesterday, Georgia picking up a big commitment. And let's just start right there, guys. What are your thoughts on this latest, most recent big dog to join the big dog party?
Yeah, if you're going to fake people out, you got to do a better job than Marquise Easley did with that top 3. That's what I would say about that one. He dropped that one. Oklahoma, Tennessee, Alabama, I believe were the top 3 there. And just did not throw many people off. It was Georgia from the jump, man. And he even admitted that to Chad Simmons, basically said, hey, look, I took this official visit and it really kind of solidified things for me. I had somebody reach out to me from one of those staffs, somebody who does what we do for one of those teams that said, hey, like, what's going on with this kid? This is all just taking visits for fun at this point, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the feeling that we've got as well. So, but an incredible pickup for Georgia. We talked about it on the YouTube channel. Jake and I did a video on it. But, this is a kid, one of the maybe the most athletic of this group. I don't think you would be far off saying that. Doesn't play necessarily the same level of competition that some of the guys do. But I think the upside is pretty substantial here. And I think Easley is a guy that Georgia will be very thankful that they added in this 2024 class.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it over and over and over again. I love him. I think he's, as a prospect, I think he's great. I think he's freakishly long, freakishly quick. I see a little poor man's Andrew Thomas in him a little bit, just in terms of the way he's put together and the way he moves around. I don't think he's going to come in with that kind of polish because I don't know if he plays that kind of ball. The only real question I've got about him is the competition he plays against. But man, you flip on that huddle film and you watch him run kind of those counter trays and those tackle pull. I mean, he comes all the way across the formation, gets out in front of running backs and just mows people down. And
yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Huddle's giving me a little trouble.
Yeah, Huddle's a good platform, but sometimes Huddle's got a lot going on. But Marquise Easley is a stud, and I don't think that there are 17 offensive tackles better than him in this class. I don't think Georgia thinks that. Honestly, based on what I've heard, and listen, you got to piece this kind of stuff together. And this is no offense to Michael Looney or Daniel Calhoun or anything like that, but based on what I've heard, I have reason to believe that Nair Daniels and Marquise Easley were both among Georgia's top 3 offensive tackle targets in this class as far as their board goes. And that there's a reason that Georgia, knowing what it knew as far as taking Michael Looney's commitment and when Daniel Calhoun was going to go and when Nair Daniels was going to go, that they took Marquise Easley's commitment rather than saying, all right, we're good with 5. We're good with 5 and we'll get ready to recruit David Sanders next year and some other studs. No, they went ahead and took Marquise Easley because they like him that much. That says a lot about the way they feel about him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Jake, is this your favorite guy in this class?
Of Georgia's offensive lineman, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, of the O-line class.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, the one offensive lineman that I like more than him is, and I still don't know 100% that of the whole class, that I'm still not 100% I even love more than him is Jonathan Daniels, because I think Jonathan Daniels is a bona fide stud, super high floor. Jonathan Daniels is going to start for multiple years in the SEC somewhere. Not the SEC, but
probably the ACC.
Probably the ACC, right?
Yeah.
He's going to start multiple years somewhere, probably for Florida State, and they're going to get a good one. He reminds me so much of Isaiah Wynn with maybe a little bit bigger frame than Isaiah Wynn. Maybe he's going to be a little ready quicker to play than Isaiah Wynn was. but that's kind of how I see him. I listen. I like him. I definitely like Marquise better than any of Georgia's commitments. I don't think Georgia does. I think Georgia had Nair Daniels probably a little bit higher, but I guess there's a little bit of conjecture in all of this. But
for me, it's like, to me, Uni's like right there. Like I think he's in the mix. When you talk about his size combo with what he's able to do against the competition that he's playing, that's what really sells me on him. You know, he's popping up quick, comes from a military family. That's got to play in somewhere, man. I mean, you know, there's an edge that kind of gives you as well. I think that there's a lot to love about that kid. And quite frankly, too, I'll be honest with you, we've forgotten a little bit about Marcus Harrison. But
I haven't, man. I have nightmares about that guy.
That guy's so intriguing to me because he's not like he's playing world beaters up there in New York. The guys he's going against at practice, he's probably having to pull back against a little bit because they're not built like that.
From the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this guy is – I'm as intrigued with him as I am anybody in this class. That's what I'll say. I think that he is one of the most interesting prospects Georgia has on this board. Some of these guys are a little bit more refined, have a little bit more proven, I guess, against the competition they play. That kid, to me, though, is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look at the size of these dogs here. If you're listening, I have a graphic up here that our graphic team made it on 3, and I think it's one of the most terrifying graphics they've ever made because there's probably about, I don't know, let's say
somebody
2,000 pounds of dog on this graphic right here. Nair Daniels, 6'7", 371 pounds. Daniel Calhoun, 6'6", 365. Marquise Easley, 6'5", 345. He's one of the smaller ones on here. Marcus Harrison, 6'7", 335. Malachi Tolliver has a lot to prove at 6'5", 315, but he's not small either. And then there's Michael Uni at 6'7", 335.
Yeah, dude, think about how big a 6'5", 315-pound man would look next to you.
And
then consider that he's the runt of the group in some degree here.
My trusty iPhone calculator tells me that is 2,066 pounds.
It's quick math by me, man, on a Sunday night after I've been at the pool for a couple hours. I'm pretty impressed with myself. No, but Jake Rowe and I spoke about this last week on a video we did for the On 3 Roundtable channel. This is reminiscent of a Sam Pittman offensive line class.
1,000%. Somebody on the board was saying, is this Sam, or they said, Stacy Searlson's are recruiting at Sam Pittman level. I said, I would argue that this year is certainly Sam Pittman level, especially given what the expectations were going into that. I know we've continued to hammer that, but it is so important to think about. This is not a heavy O-line class, especially when you're looking close to home. You got to think, you got a kid out of New Jersey, you got a kid out of Illinois, you got a kid out of New York, you got a kid out of Texas in this fold. All right. So you got 4 dudes that are not within a 3 to 5 hour drive of, you're not pulling from Charlotte. You're not pulling from Florida. You're getting these guys from really, really far out. I don't know that anybody could have imagined that coming into this class. And that's what's impressive to me about it. I think for that reason, it feels very Pittman-esque in the way that Sam Pittman going up and getting Isaiah Wilson felt.
Now, I'll say this. I'm not as impressed with how big all of these guys are as much as I just think they're all, when you watch their film, they're all pretty good football players. And I think they're moldable clay for Stacy Searles and Scott Sinclair and everybody to work with. But I will say I've done probably, and this is something that, it doesn't go back to the Rick era, obviously, because I always knew that the offensive line was a little bit of an issue there. They had some groups that played really well, but they never did really impose their will to the point of a championship level program, not on a consistent basis. But I've always thought about athleticism from the offensive line standpoint. You've got to have athletes. You've got to have, and you really do. You've got to have those guys. But you've also got to be able to, as Wes pointed out, you got to be able to hold up to that pounding. You got to be able to hold up to this tough schedule and all those big-time defensive linemen. So when you recruit guys this big, here's the philosophy. It's all right. Well, they are, you've got guys that are very few times is a guy going to be physically ready just to come in. He's got the body you absolutely need. You don't need to change anything. Something's going to have to change.
Yeah.
So if you got a guy 270 and you've got a guy 370. Well, if the guy 370 can't get down to 330, then he's telling you a lot about him already, because that's an effort thing. But the guy 270 may have a hard time getting to 320 no matter how hard he works. All right. So there's some ambiguity there on what kind of player you've got. And I think that's where you're at, is like, hey, listen, Daniel Calhoun, for instance, they know Daniel Calhoun can be at 320, 330. He's big enough to handle this pounding in the SEC. And if he doesn't get down to 320, he puts himself in the transfer portal, because he's not going to play. He's not going to put in the effort to get that big. And I have every reason to believe Daniel Calhoun will do that. But I'm just using that as an example. And that's where this philosophy comes in. I've seen people, it's a dangerous place to be, but you get into them Facebook comments. All right. Let me tell you something, buddy. Those comments on Facebook, I love you guys. Thank you for reading our stuff. If you're a Facebook commenter and you're on here, I appreciate it. All right. But you can get into I'm talking about, Bobby from Wiregrass, dude. I mean, I don't understand what he knows, man. I mean, I don't know if he got a little too much Freon the last time he serviced somebody's AC or what.
Get your radon checked.
Bobby, we got to settle down a little bit. We're talking about how fat these linemen are. Georgia don't need to be recruiting 255-pound cats.
No, it's so much easier. I just want to reiterate that. It's so much easier to go down than it is to go up. It's so much harder to put the poundage on.
Yeah,
that conditioning that Scott Sinclair does, man, like
from 18 to 22.
Yeah,
it's an uphill battle for him.
Not now. Not at 36. It's easy to put pounds on.
39, bro.
If you need me to get to 370, I can get there. All right.
Oh man, I can get to 370 and have a hell of a time doing
it. Yeah. This is, at this stage in the game, and it's that what's interesting about that is it's refreshing to hear that about a guy like Monroe Freeling. You've heard that he's put on some good weight since he's been at Georgia, and that he's kind of gotten his body right, or at least better than it was. And, it was a great frame to work with to begin with.
So we'll go more into some of these guys that committed recently. A lot to talk about with Joseph Jonah-Ajonye on the other side of the line of scrimmage there. Do y'all read too much into this on all of these big guys committing in the same week? All my buddies are texting me, why did it happen this week? Why is every single offensive lineman Georgia wants seemingly committing this week? Is it intentional, or is that just how it works?
I think it's coincidental. I mean, when you got off those official visits, you had a lot of these guys like, hey, I need to think about it for a little bit. I think the bigger correlation here the bigger causation here is the fact that official visits ended on June 25th. And all of these guys took a couple of weeks knowing that they didn't have to talk to coaches or be face-to-face or be on the road. And they wanted to go ahead and get it out of the way. And, you look at – I'll tell you this, Daniel Calhoun, Nair Daniels, Marquise Easley were all sewn up, well before this. And I think they wanted to get visits over with and let it all, kind of pan out before they got there. In the case of Michael Looney, it was, hey, he took his visits of that last weekend and then he committed right after. It's kind of funny. He's been the one that's probably been committed to Georgia the least long, but he went before everybody else.
Yeah, he was the one that surprised me just based on the names that we followed the most. We look at, the skill player effect of Raiola and Puglisi being committed, but part of me doesn't wonder if this is just a big train on both sides, the guys that are blocking for him and the guys he's going to be throwing to.
One of my favorite comments was somebody on the Dogwalk message board said that Dylan Raiola is going to be able to cook a brisket behind these boards,
and then he's going to be able to trim it. Yeah, trim it, slather a little binder on there, pepper on there.
I think that was Matthew C. And then somebody else quoted him and said, "And they're all going to eat it."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just put the black gloves on and get their hands greasy and
I've said this for a couple weeks, right? I think Georgia is sending a message. I think that when you're talking about Stacey Searles, Jake, you pointed out, I think it was right before Malachi Tolliver.
If it was a good point, I made it. Yeah,
which Malachi Tolliver dropped in March, right? Before that, Georgia had zero offensive line, zero defensive line. you're coming into the first part of July loaded at both spots now.
I think less than 3 months. April, June, July, April, May, June, 4 months. Less than 4 months. All right. Georgia has gone from 0, not to 100, but to 10. They're going to 0. That 100 would be a record, but 10. I mean, on the lines of scrimmage, you got 6 offensive linemen and 4 defensive linemen, and you had 0 on either line of scrimmage. Going into that was on March the 25th.
That does not happen in my experience. I've been doing this almost 10 years. I cannot remember anything like that where it changed that quick for both of those position groups.
Jake, I was thinking like last summer for me was my first big summer with DawgsHQ, really in this kind of industry. Like I've worked in local news and stuff, and we covered the 5-star guys when they committed. But for this summer, I was thinking back to last summer, and I was like, man, it really didn't feel like this. It wasn't like bang, 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 where we were just on our toes waiting who's going to drop next. And this week in and of itself has been wild, man.
No. It's been fun too, because I haven't, for those who have followed my work and the things that I've been able to do over the past few years, it's been a while since I've been into kind of the recruiting thing. And, to be able to get back to the old days and talk to Nair Daniels and talk to Joseph Jonah Janye for advanced quotes on a commitment and to, kind of hear their voices and understand what it's like. Man, I miss that. I miss that a lot. Talking to these kids before they're about to make a big decision. I talked to Nair Daniels' mom for a few minutes a couple days ago, and sweetest lady ever. And you could just tell there was so much excitement, there. And, I get this. I feel like there was a meeting at some point in March, and, Kirby Smart just kind of banged on the table a little bit, and they just all kind of put their aviators on like Agent Smith from the Matrix, and let's go do it. Let's just go. Let's go red pill these guys. And they did, man. I mean, 10 guys, and they're there. I don't think they're done on the D line. They're done on the offensive line, though. And let me tell you something. Go ahead. And
They're not done. It's not. I don't think that's fair to say. They're going to have to continue to fight.
Yeah, right. I'm saying they're done recruiting other guys at this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but listen, you got the chance here, and this is what I've said continuously about this class. The way that you're moving into this season, you're going to really be able to zero in on some dudes and just kind of sit back, and I use the term crank the rod. You're just going to be able to sit there and let them tire themselves out because you've got most of the pieces in place. And so let's say you do lose one of these guys, which is not out of the realm of possibility. We haven't heard that's going to happen. I, at this point, would not project that to happen. But let's just say you do. There are other guys you could possibly pivot to if you really wanted to take 6. Jonathan Daniels is a guy that I think Georgia would probably ring again if one of these guys decided to look elsewhere.
I was just more going off all right, let's say Jonathan Daniels said, all right, I'm deciding tomorrow. Georgia's not taking that commitment.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
And Brandon Baker decides the next day. They're not taking that commitment either. So, that's just that's what I was getting at. Is kind of like, they don't have any other lines in the water waiting on a bite. They've just got all these guys on the hook, and they're just going to sit there and hold firm and wait for it all to happen. And not only that, man, but when it comes down to those in-home visits, right there between the SEC championship game, which Georgia's got a good chance of being in, and then the
dude, if they're not in it, DawgsHQ is going to be like the half-life of that website's going to be dangerous to even be close to it. I'll say that.
I mean, listen, if DawgsHQ is got anything to do with it, they will be, because we've been around for 2 years, and there's been 2 natties. So
and 2 SEC championship appearances. You're right.
Dylan Brooks making a good point here, by the way. Bama, Tennessee, LSU is still looking for the big guys, man.
Yeah, Texas is cranking up the NIL.
Georgia has done a fantastic job in securing some of the best of the nation. I will give LSU some credit for that Ethan Callaway pickup, but he's a guy I really like.
I do too. I like Ethan Callaway a lot.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. But there's work to do for those squads.
And think about this: if Oregon gets Brandon Baker and Florida State gets Jonathan Daniels, I mean, I don't know, man.
You're taking some of the biggest the big boys are off the board.
Yeah, Georgia went to the hardware store and said, "You got any minnows?" And then went back there and just put a big old net and grabbed them all at one time.
Give me a bag.
They got all the fat minnows. They got all the biggest crickets. Going to everybody go catch some brim, baby.
What is Stacy Searles doing tonight?
He's probably doing that. Him and Bobo are probably night fishing right
now. That's what I'd be doing.
I heard that. I've heard tale of that happening a time or two.
Yeah.
Is Searles a stogie guy? You think he's got a big stick? Just
I would assume
reeling him in.
I would assume so, or maybe a real nice bottle of brown. You know.
Somebody's asking in the comments here, and it's the title of this show tonight. What's next for Georgia? And we saw that KJ Bolden will announce at the beginning of August there, and that probably, to me anyway, feels like it's about 8 months away. And we'll get to Joseph Jonah Ajonye in a minute because I think he is deserving of his own spotlight in the middle of all these O-line guys. Y'all got any leads? Who's like already put their commitment date out there that Georgia fans should be looking forward to?
Bolden's really the one who's got it locked in. He's really the only one who has it confirmed. Now, Justin Williams, the 5-star linebacker, I think that could come down pretty much at any point. And so definitely something to keep your eyes on. Rhett Womack over here mentions feelings on Williams Nwaneri.
Billy's in.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I think that that's a guy who I expect to get it done by the start of the season as well. But again, we're just playing with hypotheticals in those instances. Bolden's the one who has it locked in. And right now I would still pick Georgia when we're talking about KJ Bolden. That's it. What's tough for people, I think, is that there's a wait now. You're probably going to have I don't know what people are going to do after you go 6-7 days without a commitment. People are going to be trying to put Trey Scott's head on a pike. I mean, they're going to be trying to get rid of some of these dudes because they're just everybody's a little spoiled right now, and I get it, I understand. But I think that Georgia in a really strong spot, moving in with all three of those names I just mentioned: Justin Williams, KJ Bolden, and Williams Nwaneri.
I am really worried about Georgia fans putting on creepy glass cherub mask and going and wielding axes in the streets right now.
The Purge.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to happen. At least
is that a Northwestern reference?
Yeah, it's from the movie The Purge. I feel like I don't know, man. It's what just happened, and we told folks it was coming, and I think still folks just got so excited about it. I did too. Like I still had my doubts, and I kept throwing them out there, like, all right, as all these dominoes fall, is one of these dominoes just going to kind of step out of the way and say, hey, not me? But I'm with Roos. I still think Georgia's going to get KJ Bolden, and that's the guy you're talking about that has the set date. I think Justin Williams could go soon. I kind of had a back and forth a little bit last night on the Dog Walk, our message board. I was hearing it wouldn't happen soon. I was hearing it could possibly happen soon. So we've maintained, or I have, for a while now, that Georgia's in a really good spot. That we've got some more intel on that network wide on Justin Williams. So, come on over to On3 and check that out. Don't want to, let away all the secrets here. Last check, and it's been a couple, 2 or 3 days. Georgia was still kind of trending and still the team that was in the best shape with Williams, Nwaneri. Is that what
I say Nwaneri.
Nwaneri, whatever. Georgia's in good shape there. So, and when we're talking about that, we're talking about the nation's number one linebacker. We're talking about the nation's number one defensive lineman. We're talking about the nation's number one safety. So, and that goes with the nation's number one
stars, 3 5-stars.
And that's to also go with the nation's number one quarterback and the nation's number one cornerback.
Like, as sick as you felt like this run just was, if you get that run, that's even sicker.
If it happens like that between now and August the 5th.
Well, think about what the class would be if it just ended today.
Yeah.
It would be tremendous. It would be fantastic.
It's everything you want.
It would be fantastic. And here's what I've said about the KJ Bolden thing. Georgia is in a tremendous spot at defensive back if the class ends today without KJ Bolden.
Yeah.
I think they get it. But if they didn't, they'd still be okay because the guys that they have in place are some of the best in the nation. I mean, Peyton Woodyard, Jalen Hayward, those are two tremendous safeties in this class that Georgia wanted that bring it all to the table. You've got other teams chasing them in a major way, and I get why. But Bolden is, and it's almost crazy to say this, he's almost a luxury more than a need at this point. It's like you're hurting other teams more by taking him than you are addressing your own needs by getting him.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that. Look what Rusty said here on Twitter. I've had this up for a minute here, but I want to call attention to it for anyone who's just listening on the podcast. Rusty Manziel tweeted, "In my 13 years in the business, not sure I've seen UGA on a streak like this. They are adding big-time targets to this 2024 class in July." And in true Rusty fashion, he's just got a couple words there that are in all caps. But Rusty is on vacation right now, and everyone on our board wants him to stay there. And I want him to come back. I want him to come back on the show and talk some more. But I don't blame him. I don't blame anyone who's following along with Rusty's vacation and just telling him to stay at the beach or wherever he's at. Because if you're superstitious or just a little bit stitious, it's been a pretty big run since he went to the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of gets me about this whole thing, and the thing I think everybody needs to realize is when you start talking about these numbers, all right, let's say Georgia gets KJ Bolden. I think they're probably going to be in danger of losing Peyton Woodyard. I'm not saying they will, but I think that's a very real possibility, much more so than it is already. Maybe even be talking about a flip to Alabama. DeMarcus Riddick is almost certainly not going to be part of this class for Georgia. So if you start to look at it that way, Georgia's got 26. They get the 3. They're up to 29. They lose the 2. And when I say get the 3, Williams, Nweri, and Justin Williams, Nweri, and KJ Bolden. All right, so that takes them to 29. But then you talk about taking away DeMarcus Riddick, and you start talking about taking away Peyton Woodyard. Listen, Georgia's class is still going to trend up from a ranking standpoint, even losing those 2 guys. But, that takes the number down. And instead of looking at 29, you're looking at 27. They still want to add Nate Frazier. I still think there's maybe a defensive lineman, an interior defensive lineman out there that we don't know about, or that, could be,
I'm not writing off Mike Matthews totally. Right. I'm keeping that in the mix as well. You got Chris Jones or Chris Cole.
Yeah.
I think Cole's still a 3-star, but a guy who probably ends up as a 4-star. And Chris Jones, a top 150 player in America at linebacker. Those guys still both in play as well. You got Cam Michael hanging out. Where's he going to end up? Wide receiver, corner? I don't know. I'm not sure it really matters. In my opinion, you take him all day, every day. Let him figure it out when he gets there. The names that are still involved, that's what's crazy to me. Somebody asked me today, they said, gosh, we got to be close to done. Like, right? And I said, look, I can name you 10 guys that Georgia's still heavy in it with. They're sitting at 25 right now, I believe, right? 25, 26? 26. 26 today. You're sitting at 26, and you've got 10 names that we could easily point to and say, yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
I'm telling you, though, man, if I'm Georgia and I get Justin Williams and you tell me, hey, you got one more, you can take an inside linebacker, or you can go evaluate and find yourself maybe a project on the interior defensive line.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go take that interior defensive lineman. And no, that's no offense to Chris Cole, who is a freak, and Chris Jones, who I really like. I think Chris Jones might be able to give you some edge. Jalen Walker a little bit there. I think he might be able to give you some edge and play inside linebacker. I like him a lot. But if I'm having to pick, I like the idea of going out there and trying to find a Devontae Wyatt or or somebody like that on the interior defensive line, somebody that's worthy of a late offer.
Yeah.
Before we get to Joseph Jonah-Ajonye, the dog that we know that is in fact committed, we're very committed to breaking tea. And I've got this sorted tonight by best selling. Usually it's just the latest ad, but here's what y'all are looking at for everyone that's actually buying some Breaking Tea apparel. This back-to-back champs shirt right here is real nice. It's everything you want. It's got the block letters, 2021, 2022. Got that nice red outline on the black text. That's pretty nice right there. Sorry that the Stetson Bennett stuff's still sold out, but for some reason, Field of Bowers is still there. And, oh, by the way, he's got a Heisman pose going. Breaking Tea is your place for Georgia apparel. And we've got a new partner coming up this week that I think y'all will be excited to learn about on Bark After Dark and on the Wednesday edition of the Georgia Show. But
real
now,
apropos for Bark After Dark, I would say.
Yeah, we're going to get to Bark After Dark here in a minute here. But head on over to Breaking Tea. There's a link in every episode description for your next Georgia t-shirt or hoodie. Guys, y'all have a guest on Bark After Dark tomorrow night. Joseph Jonah Ajanye, locked in.
Yeah, man.
Pretty pumped about this.
Yeah,
what
excited.
are y'all going to ask him? Let's go a little behind the scenes here. What are y'all fired up and excited to talk to this guy about?
If I've got anything to do with it, we're not. I mean, and Roos, I'm sure feels the same way. There's not going to be a whole lot of talk about Trey Scott or
what led you to Georgia.
Yeah.
What was it to put the dogs?
No,
over
no
the
offense.
top?
I mean, I get that. I get all that reason that.
No,
all that
but that's been done.
Yeah, that's all been done. Listen, I want top 5 Nigerian dishes. You know, like I'm gonna be looking
Give me
for
recipes.
Yeah, give me recipes. Tell mom to send me some food over or some recipes over and some, you know, what ingredients I need to get. I want to try it. No, just, you know, hey, what was it like, you know, moving from another country and you know, what sport did you fall in love first? You know, in love with first? You know, oftentimes it's not football. Where did your competitive spirit come from? You know,
I mean, I want to know how it goes from like, there are not a lot of dudes that I've ever seen who went from like zero experience 3 years ago to top 50 player in America.
mm-hmm.
That's a pretty meteoric rise. And so like, how do those steps happen? Like what clicked for you right away on the field?
Yeah, who
And then
discovered
what-
him? Who found him?
Like, yeah, right. Sure. Like where did this all come from? But
Sonny Vaccaro discovered.
we're dropping the Jonah Ajanye threes.
I'd buy him, dude. I'm a big fan of this kid. I don't care if he goes to Georgia or not. There's some of those kids that you and I have talked about him over the years. They end up at other schools and stuff. And, you know, you just, I don't know, man, like Isaac Rochelle years and years ago. I don't know if anybody still remembers him. But you know, years and years ago, Georgia could have had the kid. Todd Grantham wasn't real high on him. I think Chris Jones, Chris, can't remember his last name, was the defensive line coach at the time. Ended up coaching with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Georgia?
Yeah, I can't remember. He was there for 1 year. But he ended up coaching for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was their defensive line coach during the Super Bowl run, but he was only there 1 year, and he didn't like Isaac Rochelle a whole lot. And Rochelle ended up going to Notre Dame, but him and Josh Dobbs were two of my favorite kids that I've ever covered in my life. Would have loved to have covered them longer.
Dobbs is a special guy.
Yeah, and Isaac's cut from that same cloth, you know. And turns out his wife is like a famous TikTok influencer, and I saw her the other day on TikTok, and they were like goofing off there. They hang out with Jacob Eason a lot,
Chris
and
Wilson.
they're about to have a kid, so that's pretty awesome for them. But yeah, this kid is the same as those guys, in my opinion. Just salt of the earth, you know, going to be successful no matter what he does. If it's not Georgia, it's, you know, NASA or running a bank or, you know, helping people do something, a lawyer. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, he's going to do a good job, and I'm excited to talk to him tomorrow night on Bark After Dark. And we're going to dig in there and get some uncommon questions in there and find out who he really is, to an extent, as much as we can in 20 minutes.
Our first prospect interview on
Yeah.
there, which is
y'all are
fun.
coming
I
back
mean,
with a bang.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting. Yeah, I mean, what a pickup though for Georgia. I don't think it was a surprise to much of anybody who had been following for the last couple of months with this kid. He gets the offer. It's the dream school. He follows it up with, you know, a quick visit. He comes in for the scavenger hunt and kind of leaves there saying all the right things about where Georgia stands. Oklahoma really wants a piece of him, and that makes more sense for him if he is from Conroe, Texas originally, probably. You know, they probably win that race, I would say, more times than not, if he's actually from if he's actually from Conroe, Texas.
I don't know where you think Justin Williams is actually from.
Well, that's a good point. But Oregon's the one who's trying to get him. So obviously he's not concerned with staying close to home. You know what I'm saying? But Oklahoma was a huge consideration, it felt like, with Jonah Ajonye. But, yeah, I mean, they deliver. And what you hear about this guy consistently from people who know, from people who I'm sorry, I laughed at that comment as well.
Well, we got one in the comments.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks says, ask him if he's ever heard of Joe Tereshinski.
Who hasn't?
Which one?
No, I think Jonah Ajonye, the people that I've spoken to about him seem to say over and over again, like, this is probably the guy with the most upside in the whole class. Regardless of position, it doesn't really matter. That he plays defensive line is a huge bonus, given the need there and the importance of that position. But it's not really even about him playing on the defensive front. It's just that he has that kind of upside. He's got the body for it. He's got the makeup. He's got everything that you're looking for in a football player, and people seem to really gravitate naturally toward this kid. And I understand why. I think for Georgia, probably one of the biggest pickups in this class. And I think in 2 to 3 years, we may be looking back and thinking the same.
Yeah, this kid's going to be about halfway probably through his first NFL season before he's able to legally buy a beer.
But he's also probably going to be a representative for you at SEC Media Days one day.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, when I was talking with Charles Power the other day, I'm sitting here thinking, like, if this kid was a 2025 like he should be, because, again, he's not going to turn 17 until November. All right. So, I mean, that should be a 2025 kid. So if he was a 2025 kid, I think there's a very good chance he might be a top 10 prospect. Yeah. Top 10 overall prospect.
And I mentioned this the other day too. This is the same deal.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. I wasn't going to tell you hi until I saw your avatar with that monster buck you have there. Assume that's yours.
But we mentioned this, or I mentioned this with you, Jake. Nair Daniels, super young also. Will turn 18 just before his freshman season at Georgia. You've got some, and then you got Nnamdi Agboko, right? 1 year in playing football. They're taking some young guys here, some inexperienced guys who maybe haven't met the threshold just yet. That's a luxury you get when you built the roster the way that Georgia has, but it's also how you get out and find freaks too.
I want to give Georgia credit for that. I really do, but I also wonder if how much of a function it is of just guys just getting ready for the game a lot quicker than they probably used to. So it probably seems like a huge deal, but it's kind of like this intersection for Georgia. They're going to find the best guys anyway, and the guys that are naturally gifted, if they just decide to pick up the game, they're getting trained up, they're getting conditioned, and they're ready to go. I mean, just look at how many freak freshmen are ready to go, not just at Georgia, but in Power 5 football. KBB 22-22. I'm down for it, man. Whether it's the Georgia show or Bark After Dark. I mean, if these guys want to come on, let's talk to them.
Yeah, definitely.
We're with it.
One thing I will point to on that is, you get a mixed bag of guys that you recruit. Like Brock Bowers, I mean, Grandpa Bowers as compared to
I had a hard time. I interviewed him in the parking lot of the Spring Hill Suites in Athens, and it was difficult. It was not the most difficult interview I've ever performed was with Charlie Warner, and he stared at me like he wanted to assault me.
Yeah,
for daring to ask him questions. I believe I got him to answer 2 questions in the whole night.
Charlie Warner used to come up to his Georgia interviews shirtless. Every time. And then they would hand him a polo and he would put it on. He'd do his interview and take it off and then go back down.
Those listen, God bless Gunner Stockton too, man. I don't know what they're doing to kids over there in Rabin, but they're different cats over there, man.
Taking them to eat at a Dillard house every Sunday, probably.
No doubt. That's some different cats, but they're good cats for sure. But yeah, I mean, Brock was not, and he still isn't, right? Like, I mean, he's not a guy who just relishes that moment.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah Wynn, you get in front of a camera and he kind of clap and like, be like, hey, I'm here to rap.
It's good.
I'm rapping with people. Like, he was a natural at it.
Yeah.
Some guys just aren't.
Yeah. Well, I was more getting at the fact that he's older. Like Brock Bowers.
Oh, yeah.
I believe he was, I want to say he was almost 20 years old the spring after his freshman season at Georgia. AJ Green was, I believe, turned 19 years old during turned 19 years old before his first season at Georgia. So those are older guys that still had plenty of meat left on the bone, two of the greatest Bulldogs ever in terms of talent. But, what you're running into now, and you're running into guys that were held back. You're running into guys that were for the purpose of development. And I'm not talking about guys that were held back because, they're like your boy here that was, going to be, turned like
coloring.
I was just turning 5. I got an August birthday. I was just turning 5, like right at the deadline when I was in kindergarten. My parents were like, nah, you're good. We'll just wait. And I went the next year. I was one of the older kids that graduated in my class. I still sucked. I still wasn't worth a damn, as far as an athlete goes, but whatever. So it didn't help me a whole lot. But, they do that. But they'll do it down the line. They'll do it like 3rd grade, 4th grade, sometimes 2 grades at a time, right? And it's tough sometimes to know, all right, is that kid dominant because he's 19 playing against
the name who comes to mind? Is there a kid who comes to mind for you?
Not right off the top of my head. No.
Mine was Aaron McLaughlin.
Okay. I don't even know who that is.
Aaron McLaughlin was a quarterback. I can't remember if he was Grayson or Buford, but I think
Buford.
Okay.
I believe he was at Buford. And I don't know if this was true, but I had people tell me that he drove to his freshman year of high school. And,
Brock Bowers was born in December. So I don't know if he was held back or not. I mean, I think he just landed here from planet Krypton personally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Brock Bowers is going to do it no matter what. That's not a thing. Yeah. KBB 2222 over here asking, yes, I do believe Tennessee stopped recruiting Marquise Easley in the middle
and not for the reasons you're thinking, though.
Yeah, not for anything that not because they didn't like him as a prospect.
Not for any reasons that would cause Georgia to stop recruiting.
As a matter of fact, I think it was because Georgia didn't need to recruit him very much anymore.
Yeah.
And he was trying to help Georgia get some other guys maybe.
Yeah.
Is apparently what we've heard. But yeah, so I mean, getting these younger guys back to that point, I think that with Nair Daniels, with Joseph Jonah Janye.
Comment section's going off the rails tonight.
Yes. Comment section's on point tonight. With those guys, they're stud players. Like that it's not because they're older than everybody or they're just a little more advanced. They're young. They've got a lot of meat left on the bone. I mean, you look at Joseph Jonah Janye and the fact that he played his junior season at no more than 250 pounds. He weighs in at Georgia at 275, and I mean, he's just becoming a man. There's no telling what he's going to be able to do. He might be a 200.
He's going through puberty. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I mean, the second one.
It looks to me like it slapped taste out of your mouth. What it looks like to me. I mean, I'm just like a grown man. Uncle JJA, baby.
Yeah.
Let's wrap things up with some dog stocks. I will say stock up on Georgia commit Chauncey Bowens, who our guy Rusty Menzel on vacation. I say in air quotes. Caught up with him today, and he had a pretty big announcement. Here is Chauncey Bowens himself.
Came down to get an All-American Bowl invite. What you got in your hand?
Yes, sir. Here it is. Yes,
What's your thoughts on it?
Just really happy, really excited. I'm blessed to be in this position. I came out here with the goal and I executed, and all glory to God. But let's go.
It's been a good day, good weekend for you. Got some linemen committed in front of them. What's your thoughts on Georgia right now? What y'all guys are doing?
I mean, we're hot. I mean, like I said, even before these guys committed, I mean, we had a plan, and we went out and got guys who really believed in what coach was telling us, and just stacking up the Great Wall. So
now, forever, an All-American, high school All-American. Be playing on NBC in San Antonio in January. 2024 running back, Georgia commit, Chauncey Bowens.
I love that All-American event, man. It's so fun to watch, and Chauncey Bowens will always be a favorite with Georgia fans for flipping from Florida to Georgia on his, I believe his official visit. I can't remember, but whether it was official or not, it's official that he loves the Dogs and he is an All-American, and you can watch him on NBC, like Rusty just said.
Yeah. Also, I mean, looks piped. Film's great. What a great guy to have. Basically admitted to, we got a story up with him that Georgia pretty well had this thing sutured up for a while. So probably hurt Billy Napier's feelings to hear that again. All right. I'm going to say stock down on Georgia picking up a lot of commitments in the next couple of weeks. All right.
Man.
That's my stock tonight. Because you greedy bastards out here are going to be calling for it. And I understand it. Everybody's spoiled right now. It's exciting. It's been ridiculous. This is like Rusty said, like I've said, Jake, everybody. It's been one of the most unbelievable runs that Georgia has ever gone on. It's one of the more unbelievable runs in college football that I can ever remember. I don't follow anybody else at this closely, but it's insane what they've done to this point. And Jake Rose laughing because that guy said, I feel like I'm watching a 1970s sitcom about my mustache. Yes, I assume.
No, I saw the comment, minoxidil, delicious. I don't know why it just caught me off guard.
But listen, it's going to get quiet. It was inevitably going to. All right. Now, I'm not saying Justin Williams can't pop in the next week or tomorrow even, but you're not. Very few times in the history of recruiting are you ever going to experience a run like the one Georgia just went on. What was it? 5-7? Is that right?
Yeah,
it was 5-7.
5 and 8.
5 and 8 days. Okay,
Yeah.
so 5 and 8 days. I think all 4 stars, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yep.
And so that does not happen. And so I hope everybody appreciates it. I hope everybody soaks it in. You enjoy it. If it gets a little quiet, I hope you don't freak out. You don't need to. You have the number 1 class in America. Some tremendous players in this class. Some you just picked up. But stock down on Georgia picking up some more commits or a lot of commits like this again anytime soon. Stock down on anybody.
They surprise us sometimes. They do. They surprise us from time to time, so you never know.
Just did.
2 things. One, I think Jake Roos just rewrote a Leanne Womack song right in front of our eyes. I hope you. That was cracked me up. Number 2, this dude over here said he thinks he's looking at a 70s sitcom. You're watching something for the 1970s with Roos in it, but it ain't a sitcom.
It's not family friendly.
What a champagne.
This is like a Bark After Dark Georgia show hybrid.
You knew it was, but it was just going to be me and Roos on here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. All right, Ro, take us home.
Rusty kind of keeps it in the in between the lines. Palmer too. All right, stock up the Georgia golfers. Sepp Straka winning the John Deere at the TPC Deere Run up in. Where is I keep wanting to call him Dominic Easley. Who the hell is Dominic Easley?
Oh, I know that name.
I do too. I keep wanting to call him Marquise Easley Dominic. Where's Marquise Easley from? He's from Illinois.
Dominic Easley played at Florida.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's it. D lineman. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe a 5-star kid.
He was a first-round pick in the 2014 draft.
I do recall that. I just had a bug flying on my desk. Hold on, let me kill it. Look at that. How about that? Anyway, TPC Deer Run up in Illinois, same place Marquise Easley's from. And Brendan Todd finished second. So Georgia guys getting to bring home some cash, maybe donating to the next big project that Georgia has up there. But that's a pretty cool little tournament there. The John Deere, I don't know what kind of field it was and how loaded it was, but you went on the PGA Tour, you've accomplished something. Sepp Straka gets his second career win. Let me tell you something. Sepp Straka, where's he from, Wes? Well, I know he's from Valdosta, but where is
he's not originally from Valdosta.
Is he a Swede? Is it Sweden or something like that? He won last year or something, did an interview, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm expecting a name like Sepp Straka
He's Austrian.
Austrian, right. I'm expecting a little bit of an accent, like a little bit of a, hey, a little bit of a European deal going on.
Throw another shrimp on the Barbie.
Dude, have y'all seen the speaking of Austria, have you seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger doc on Netflix?
No, I have not.
It's pretty good. Y'all should check it out.
Probably watch it tonight, though, if my wife heard that. She's a big Arnold fan. I heard him speak on the radio, do an interview, and I swear to God, he sounds a lot more like me than he does Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's for sure. I mean, it was, yeah, man. I just, went out there and struck the ball good, putted the ball good, and that's the way it came out. But yeah, he's came up in Valdosta, and really good golfer. Saw him at the Masters this past year. Big dude. Hits the ball a long way. A lot of fun. Georgia gets top 2 at the John Deere, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully he gets to take home that 825 right there.
Jake Rowe,
I hope so for his sake.
Coming in with the Palmer dog stock tonight.
Hey man, it was slim pickings tonight. They're getting kind of repetitive. I almost did dog stocks on Brock Bowers.
Tomahawk Dog over here says Samsonite. I was way off.
Hey, by the way, stock up on Ellis Robinson. Didn't even touch that storyline, which is huge for Georgia,
true.
locking in his commitment, which is big. And we haven't spoken about David Pollock yet. He's on vacation. Spoke to some of his people. But look, just follow the guy on social media if you want some encouragement on how you face things in life that you can't predict. Man, he's more than just a great dog. He's one of a kind fella. So someone mentioned David in the comments here, Tomahawk Dog, of course. But I know he'll figure it out. That guy has, at the risk of sounding like a giant cliche, he still has a motor that never quits. So big fans of David Pollock over here, and big fans of the comment section, man. Y'all crushed it tonight. Y'all kept up pace with us. This was a great show. Y'all hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check us out at DawgsHQ.com if you like what you saw here. A lot more in the written and print versions as well, and on our message board, a great community of dogs over there. DawgsHQ.com is where you want to be this summer and heading into Georgia's three-peat campaign in the 2023 season. Bark After Dark tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Joseph, Jonah, and Johnny will be on there. That'll be a great conversation, and we are back here Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. as we are every week, and later on in the week, Sunday at 8:30 p.m. if you don't have our schedule locked in. It's really buckling in from here until football season starts. July, August, going into September. This is our bread and butter right here, and Georgia got it started with some big-time commits. We will have much more where that came from right here on the YouTube channel. For both Jakes, I'm Wes Blankenship. I believe Rusty and Palmer will be back some point this week. Can't wait to hear Rusty's perspective on vacation and all these commits, man. It's going to be big. Catch y'all next time. Thanks.